part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Run, William, run! He's got blockers in front. 5, touchdown! Joshua Cribbs turns disaster into a score! Kick blocked! They blocked the kick!
They're about to put the Cavs on Prime Video.
So, like Tyvis, when I would write about for awful announcing, this is exactly what I'd be writing about.
The Cavs going on.
Just valleys and just like the nature of the business and carriage agreements and.
I feel like writing. I feel like that's so hard. Is writing fun? I
actually really enjoy it.
Really? So you like to just find a story and just dig, and then get all the facts and put an article together.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, man.
I could be like a Browns Nancy Drew.
I feel like I don't need to. I wouldn't want to write. I feel like I could just speak it. I feel like I could just.
That's why you do what you do, and you're good at it.
I just want to speak. Like today, I was sitting there and we was talking about G New on the show today and how he was going at people on Twitter. He was like, yeah. I like coming on here and seeing how people that don't know nothing about football try to talk about football. So I was sitting there and I said, well, let me look at this play. Let me look at this. I said, I'm just an undrafted free agent, but I think I know a little bit. I think I'm qualified a little bit. So I was breaking down his play, the Nico Collins play that he got beat on.
Smoked him.
And I'm just like, and I'm not being disrespectful. Like I'm coming at him how the coach is probably gonna say the same thing. I'm like, well, at the beginning of this play, first of all, you wasn't set. You got to get set. That's first of all. So the play started bad right then and there. You in the tank. That's what we call it. Where you ain't even set. You not pressed, but you not off. You still trying to figure out what you want to do, and the ball is snapped. Then on top of that, you guessing the route. You see it's a slant. He hit you with a slant and go. You done undercut the route trying to get the slant. You done let yourself go on the up, wide open on that. And then on top of that, your safety, Ronnie Hickman, is a young guy. He got looked off by CJ. He didn't give you no help. It was just bad. It was bad. Yeah, the whole play was bad.
He was bad. The defense was bad. It just, I've heard this like a bunch of different times, but it was a bad day to have a bad day. And it's so true. Like
that's Kevin Stefanski talk.
Yeah. I mean, it was ugly. It was ugly all around. Newsome looked awful. Defense looked awful. Flacco looked awful. I mean, just you name it, it went wrong on Sunday, and they were just incredibly outcoached, ill-prepared. And it sucks, I don't know, Tyvis, you and I would text about this a little bit for each game and stuff. And like, you texted me before the game. Actually, this is like that was the first game I feel like you texted me and you were like, I feel good about this, because you did not feel good about the Jets.
Well, hold on. Let me be fair. Give me a second. I got to change, put a diaper on.
Well, when Tyvis puts a diaper on, this is the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast. I'm Holly Wetzel. He is Tyvis Powell. And we've been coming with you coming at you, I should say, every week, talking Browns. Okay, diaper is on.
All right, so listen. So I had 2 red flags from the time I talked to you and the time the game kicked off, which is crazy. So the first red flag, but I felt it. It's like when you see something, you feel it in your gut, but it's like, no way. I tried to ignore it, but I had 2 red flags. The first red flag was when I seen the CJ Stroud quote, when they said, people say that y'all don't have a chance. And he said, they saying we don't got a chance. All right. For some odd reason, when I read that quote, I just was like, oh, shoot. Right. Yeah. And then the second red flag was actually, it happened during pregame. I watched Myles Garrett give like his speech to the D-line.
Yeah.
And I wasn't moved at all. I was just like, that's it. I was like, oh. So that was the 2 red flags where I was at before kickoff. I was just like, I don't know no more. But it is.
He was a shell of himself too after that injury. The last however many. I mean, it just felt like he just kind of vanished in thin air.
the injury definitely played a big part, but I thought that he was ramping back up because it was just like the car accident last year. After he got in the car accident, he was
Yeah.
a shell of himself for a few weeks, but then towards the end, he started ramping back up, and I thought, it would be a similar thing. And it's just, I don't know, it's just like the whole month of January and like the last 3 games, he really just wasn't really the same guy. Now, don't get me wrong. The difference why it was more disappointing in this game than the other games to me is because in this game, this was the first time all season we talked about how Miles gets double teamed and triple teamed all the time.
Yep.
And they slide the protection his way and all of these things. And as an offensive coordinator, first of all, shout out to Bobby. Bobby, if you don't know, he did the scout. He held scout team meetings with me in San Francisco. So it's incredible to see a dude that was just a scout team coach now as an offensive coordinator. Same thing with TC that just got fired from the Browns, the tight end coach. He was the dude that'll put the card up and be like, Tyvis, you got this on this play. So it's cool to see them, get these jobs. It's unfortunate that TC got fired today. But anyways, so Bobby, just like every other offensive coordinator, would come in the game and say, we have to find a way to stop Myles Garrett. Like, he has to be stopped. And, so like I said, so many times it's been triple teams and double teams. But as this game played on, it was like Laramie was like, I don't need no double team.
Right.
Like, we got this a one-on-one thing.
For a while.
And Bobby, as an OC, is like, wait a minute, hold on now. You can handle him by yourself? Oh, well, then if that's the case, let's get this tight end out on the route. Let's get this running back out in coverage. Like, we don't have to worry about sliding the line. We could just do it whatever we want to do. And it was unfortunate because as a defensive player, as a guy who's probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year because it is a regular season award, it was unfortunate that on the big stage, you was kind of a no-show, and they needed you the most. Like, if you would have been the regular Myles Garrett in that game, it could have stopped a lot of stuff.
Which I tried to call before when we did text. I was like, Myles, it's Myles' game.
Yeah, it would have stopped, the deep passes because CJ wouldn't have had time to get these routes, wouldn't have been able to develop deep down the field or stuff like that. But it's not just on him. It was on the whole defensive line. Dalvin Tomlinson, I thought he'd been a huge letdown in those games. I thought all the guys that you acquired, all of this playoff and Super Bowl experience that you acquired, you acquired it for that moment. And it seems like everybody just completely no-showed in that game. The only person that I give a slight pass to is Denzel because I know he messed himself up in practice on Thursday. And I realized that Denzel wasn't himself pretty early in the game. The first pass that Nico Collins caught, it was like an over route. It was like a deep over route. He beat Denzel so bad. And Denzel looks so slow compared to him. I was like, it's clear that Denzel is not the same. So, and I'm sorry that I'm being long-winded. I'm definitely I want to be respectful and let you get your saying in there. So I apologize. But the last thing I'm gonna say is that we needed Denzel to be 100% that game because it was a point of that game where as the number one corner and as a dog, if you a dog, like that dude at corner, it's going to come a time where you got to look at your defensive coordinator and say, listen, I know what the game plan is. I know that we supposed to play sides, but this guy's killing us. And I have to take him out the game. Either you got to say that or your defensive coordinator got to look at you and tell you that. I got a chance to watch it with Sherm. When I was in Seattle, Sherm only wanted to play on the left side. That's what he did. But then it came a time when we played these good wide receivers and K. Rich, Chris Richard, the defensive coordinator, would be like, go get him. And Sherm would then travel because that's what had to happen for us to win that game. And I was hoping that would happen. Now, I understand now why it didn't because I understand Denzel suffered that injury. Had he not suffered that injury, I have no doubt in my mind that would have been the case. How do I know that this happens? Because literally, if you go to the Texans, Derek Stingley played the left side the entire year. That's all he did. But in this game, he said, I want that assignment on Amari Cooper. And that's what you got to do in the playoffs.
Shut him down. Yeah.
So, well, Amari Cooper was a shell of himself. His heel clearly was messed up. We seen that he caught a deep over route and he was slow to get up too.
But still.
I just think that those things right there tells me that we're not where we need to be yet. Now, I think it's a great learning experience for Myles Garrett and for, I can't even call it a learning experience for Denzel because he was hurt. But other guys, Martin, Gnu, all of these guys that, they come out and say they're the best in the world. And then when we got on the big stage, you kind of lay the egg. So clearly we got to grow in that department if we want to be better moving forward next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a ton of missed opportunities, right? And there will always be every year. We're always going to look back and say, well, if that injury didn't happen, well, if they hadn't called that play, well, if they hadn't gone for it there, well, if that penalty would have been called. I mean, that is the game. It's just the way that the cookie crumbles. But I think this year and how it ended and the run, let's put it this way, the roller coaster of emotion from beginning to end. Browns always keep us on our toes, but this was different, for sure. And no one expected, of course, obviously, for them to go as far as they did. So yeah, the momentum was there. And it raised a ton of questions, I think.
It did.
And,
I mean, in the end, let's be real. If we're gonna be real as Browns fans and real football analysts, like the Browns played with house money this entire season. Like once your quarterback goes down and your starting running back goes down, your two main playmakers go down, you really shouldn't win any games. And we just fell in love with the fairy tale. I mean, we knew it was house because we came in and said, I don't know how they're winning these games. They're turning the ball over at a high rate. The run game is not there, but somehow, some way, we continue to win these games. And I think finally in the playoffs, all those things that we worried about or all the things that every analyst ever brought up about the Browns started to show. And, we knew Joe Flacco at some point. I mean, it's just been his track record for the past, 5 years. At some point, he just falls off a cliff. And, I remember doing a show with a Jets fan, and he was like, oh, it's coming. Trust me, it's going to happen. And it obviously that happened. I thought he got it out of his system when they played Chicago because he had those 3 picks in the first half, but he bounced back. And just this game, it just completely overwhelmed them. But I also think that it's not just on Joe Flacco. I also believe that the fact that both of our tackles was gone finally showed up because Christian and Hudson had a rough game. I mean, those DNs, although they're young, those DNs was real. They was living in the backfield. I mean, I know they had a bunch of sacks in that game, and it just really wrecked what the Browns were trying to do offensively. And then the last thing is Ronnie Hickman. Obviously, I feel like he had kind of a Jared Allen moment where the lights was kind of too bright.
Yeah.
Because it alarmed me because for a guy who's played at the Ohio State, go Bucks, he's played in big games, so he knows what big games is like. He also has played in games this season, meaningful games this season, where he even made plays in those games. So it just, for me, when I watched him, this past Saturday, I don't know, he made so many mistakes. And what you learn is the difference between college and the NFL. Is in college, you can make a mistake, but talent-wise, it's a huge difference. Like you can make a mistake, but you might be so talented that you can make up for those mistakes.
Yeah.
In the NFL, if you take one false step, that's all you really need to do. It's so the room for error is so small in the NFL. And I think he learned that on obviously a big stage. And it's unfortunate that it took that, but I do believe he will be a better player because of that. So it is something, like I say, everybody learned something out of this, but his was the most alarming because he gave up a ton of plays.
Yeah. Yeah. And this does bring up, obviously, as we enter the off season, and definitely just dove right in with, three coaching staff gone. Yeah. And not even, and it's interesting, I think it reeks a little bit of like December Browns when the season's over and it's, the day after the regular season, and, we're expecting them to kind of clean house, right?
Yeah.
But this, I think, and Josina Anderson obviously reported, obviously, that Alex Van Pelt, Stump Mitchell, and TC McCartney were fired. And so also heard that a lot of the players weren't thrilled about a lot of those moves,
I don't blame them.
specifically Stump Mitchell. So, what I worry about now, Tyvis, well, first of all, I want to get your opinion on why. Let's start with AVP, because how do you fire? What is AVP doing if he's not calling plays? All right, I know he was the QB's coach and everything, but is this because of Alex Van Pelt, or is this because of Deshaun Watson's offense?
See, and that's the thing we was trying to figure out today. Now, obviously, AVP he wants an opportunity to call plays, and it's not like I think his contract was up too, right? I think this was it. I want to say,
Yeah, but they
Not a-
said wouldn't they just say like we're parting ways because he's gonna go pursue or something? They said they fired him. So it's like that's what I'm hanging on to of the why.
so my thing is, it's so interesting because, and this the only thing that I could come up with is, yes, you've seen this offense work. Okay. And we gotta really take ourselves back on this. The offense looked really good this year. And Kevin Stefanski, his offense is unbelievable under center. He's like a guru under center.
Mm-hmm.
But your quarterback is a guru in the shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we don't. I'm not saying that Kevin Stefanski is not really good at shotgun stuff, but we know his bread and butter is under center. If you need your quarterback to get back to that guy, you got to get somebody in there that understands shotgun. And I think what it does is, now instead of just trying to force Deshaun to do something that he doesn't want to do or he isn't strong at, I guess. I'm not gonna say he don't
Mm-hmm.
want to do it. I
Right.
don't know that. I'm gonna say that maybe that's not his strong suit. He prefers to be in the gun. You got to bring somebody in there that's a shotgun specialist because you got to tailor to your guy. But at the
Right.
same time, how about putting your Kevin Stefanski's brain with a guy who's really good in shotgun, and let's mix this thing together. Let's get the
Right.
best of both worlds, because AVP only sees it how Kevin Stefanski sees it, because that's what he's been learned. That's the only thing he's learned for the past 4 years is how Kevin Stefanski sees things.
Mm-hmm.
So you bring in another offensive-minded coach and let him and Kevin kind of gel and mesh that out and come up with a concept where, hey, Deshaun, this is what we're going to do. I got you a guru that works in the shotgun. We're going to run some of his plays, but we also going to run some stuff under center because you got to finally sit back and watch it in real time that it works.
Right.
And we're gonna get a running back. We're gonna get Nick Chubb back. Hopefully he's back to himself. So now that threat of play action really is a threat because you got a
Mm-hmm.
true running back there. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the thing that's, to me, why I think that's the only logical explanation, is that you getting a shotgun goal, depending on who they hire. Like I'd heard the Bieniemys, I'd heard Kellen Moore. I
Mm-hmm.
also heard a guy, Tim Kelly, who he worked
Mm-hmm.
with in Houston. I heard all of these guys, and all of these guys know how to operate our shotgun. Tim Kelly obviously worked with Deshaun in
Mm-hmm.
2019, so he understands those things. So I think it's about catering to that guy. Also, I said this today. This was a thought of mine. When did things go completely officially south for Deshaun Watson? When was he done with Houston? What was the last straw? Do you know?
Oh
The,
God.
the last straw for Deshaun Watson is Houston was when they got rid of the head coach and he requested that they interview Eric Bieniemy. And they completely did not enter. They did not do it at all. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
all right, I'm out of here since y'all don't even respect me enough to bring in the guy that I want. So this is another chance. I'm not saying that that's his preference now. I don't know. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's been a bunch of years, but that is a guy that I think they should look at. He is open, and your quarterback wants that, and whether you like it or not, you have to tailor to him. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's something there where that should be something that should be looked at. Just my thought, though.
Yeah. No, and that's interesting because, I think, the play calling and Stefanski and him running, he runs that offense, right? And then when he gets rid of the assistant, it's like, or the offensive coordinator, it's like, well, wait a second, you running this offense, what is he doing versus what you didn't want to do? And not look, but it's not looking at it that way. It is looking at the future of the franchise and the quarterback you invested obviously a historic amount of money in. And I am all for whatever that's gonna take. I mean, Deshaun never really seemed to totally fit with any of the game plan that we had
Not,
all
not at
season. I
all.
mean,
Yeah, not at all.
he always just kind of looked out of place, and Flacco comes in, and I think, it's not even so much it's the fit, and I'm sure of this more than most for sure. The fit makes and means so much into what you're going to run and what you're good at, and the type of quarterback you are. I mean, and
I,
that's and even type of player. I mean, look at Njoku, like I feel like, we had been waiting, we kept saying this, that we've been waiting for him to kind of take off a little bit, and it's finally he seemed to fit with Flacco, and it just soared, and the play calling and just their chemistry. And I want to see that. I mean, we got this one, everyone talks about this Ravens game, and I get it. It was this one fantastic game that Deshaun came back and he was hurt and he played and then brought him to win in Baltimore. I mean, it was an amazing game. It was an amazing situation. And I want to believe that, this is what we're going to have. But I don't want to forget or get lost that, look, I'm happy that they're making these moves if that's what it's for sure. I know guys are going to be upset when you start to mess up that chemistry and that trust coming off of such an awesome season, unexpected season where everyone's gelling, everyone's, each other's biggest fans. It's this great feeling. And now you're kind of getting like, the wind kind of taken out of you a little bit. So, and it's really it's changing complete course, and you got to get people back on and trust. And I know that the Stefanski trust had grown immensely, and he was a big part of why the team did come together still and still fought every week. And that trust grew with him, which I think is awesome. So it's just, I hope that is, the move, and that we do get someone in here that's going to make Deshaun flourish, because at this point, Tyvis, we are getting into year 3 and we still don't know what we really got, like and you look at what, the Texans, and losing to the Texans on Saturday was such a crazy full circle moment, because, they traded us their franchise quarterback, they won their division, and now they also beat us in the playoffs, actually really, killed us in the playoffs. And then they have our first round pick next year. And it's just like, man, it was like getting slapped back and forth and one more time for good measure. So you want to make sure at this point, and if this is what it is, pulling out all the stops. And I'd love to think about, this was years ago, Colin Cowherd talking about having standards, because I think it's so true. And I know I bring this up all the time, but it's like, if we want to be considered into those new classes here, then we got to have standards. And if AVP ain't doing it because he's not going to be the right fit for what we just invested in, then okay, then I'm happy with that move, if that's what that is for. You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, a lot of people just don't think it's a Kevin Stefanski move, like, and that's the thing
well,
that
AVP was right.
The firing of him. You think was Kevin Stefanski saying we got to let AVP go?
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe. All I know is when I sit back, all right, let's really dissect this thing, okay? Let's because I'm okay with it. Like, a lot of people are upset about this offensive fire. I'm okay with it, because, and I'll tell you why. When you look at this season, okay, Joe Flacco started how many games? 6, right? He played start 6, including the playoff game, 6. He was 4-2 of those 6 games, okay? So let's take the 4 games that he won. Okay, so 4 games out of 18 games. 4 games out of 18 games, I would tell you, offensively was the reason why they won those games. The other, what is that? 14 games was all defensively. I thought the defense was the reason why they won a lot of those games. That defense played lights out. They held guys under 13 points at home, things like that. With that being said, that means that our offense still wasn't good enough. And I understand that there was a bunch of injuries, but at the end of the day, it's not like they were doing anything great to put up points. So that's why I'm like, okay, they wasn't getting the job done. And then on top of that, I went to OTAs this year, and I watched the one practice where Deshaun looked better than Tom Brady, and I even said it. He looked better than Tom Brady out there. Do you
Mm-hmm.
know, when I watched that offense in OTAs, it looked nothing like what I seen this season at all. So I think I completely watched a day of practice that never implemented to the season. And that's a huge problem. So I think that's why it's like, well, we can't sit here and lie, because this whole offseason, all we heard was, oh, wait till you see this offense. Oh, it's totally different. We changed everything. And then we get
Mm-hmm.
out there on Sundays and it's still the same stuff. It's
Right.
the same old. So at some point, you got to change it up. It's insanity to keep running the same thing back. If you keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result, they call that insanity. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's why you have to mix it up. You got to get some fresh minds in there. Also, think about this, and this is small, but it's big to me. Usually, when somebody's really that good as a coach, at some point, a team comes and takes them. We want to interview you for OC, or we want to interview you for head coach, or something like that. I don't recall that happening with any of these coaches. So at some point, you got to get some fresh blood in there. If they were that
Yeah.
good, if they're that good, somebody's
Yeah.
going to find.
Good point.
And I feel like that never happened with nobody on this staff. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I'm like, I think it's ran its course. It's time for some new ideas, new
Mm-hmm.
tricks in the playbook, and to throw some wrinkles. And like I said, at the end of the day, it's unfortunate a lot of people don't want to hear it, but you still got to cater to that $230 million man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, look, and obviously, Stefanski's not going to be giving up play calling. I don't know how he would at this point. I mean, depending on who they bring in, I guess, but I felt like he was more of a head coach this year than he has been since he's gotten here, just of kind of really taking and commanding that role and being who, we wanted him to be as a head coach. And, I just, if they're going to really dissect every piece of this offense, that should also be included. I mean, I don't know how it can, and not to say that that's what has to happen, but it has to be looked at and it has to be considered, especially who they bring in, because you want to make sure you're doing your due diligence from top to bottom.
Mm.
And so I hope I don't. I'm always like really afraid to be like, I have faith in the organization, because I don't, like, always, like, I don't. So
No, I mean, I get it.
it's hard to, when it's hard to get invested when it's a business, but you're a fan, and it's a weird, we talk about that all the time, of kind of being on that parallel of like working in it and the business, and then but also cheering and being a fan and wanting to believe that they really care about the fans, and I know it's obviously the Browns care about the fans. I'm just saying where that falls, and financially it makes sense, which brings me to the financial piece of Deshaun, because his salary. So I don't know like a ton about. I got this from The Athletic. Because I don't
Oh,
know like
shout
a
out.
ton of how the contracts
Did
work.
Jason Lloyd write it?
I actually don't know if he wrote this one. I think it was Zach Jackson that wrote this one. Maybe
Oh,
he did.
he's really good as well. they're like Batman and Robin.
They are. They're both very good. But it basically talked about Watson's fully guaranteed deal. Of course, his salary cap number for 2024 is scheduled to be $63.9 million.
That boy's
How
swimming
about
in
it?
it, ain't he? Let me borrow some.
I mean, about the easiest way to make that much money in 3 years is here we are. But so we hold the option to restructure his contract,
Oh, they're
which would
going to.
push.
They're
What's
going
that?
to. They're
Yeah. Oh
going
yeah.
to.
It's like we're pushing it off like fucking crazy. It's nuts. Which if we do and we restructure it, and the ramifications go to future years, they'll get around 33 million of space for this offseason. Per over the cap, the Browns have 12.7 million over the projected 2024 cap.
That's not
Browns,
terrible.
it's not terrible. The Browns can get themselves on the right side of things through a series of standard offseason moves and restructuring, even if they don't rework the Watson's contract. I don't know if they could really, I don't know how much on the right side if they don't restructure Watson's
I
or
mean,
rework his
well,
contract.
you got to imagine him and Chubb probably will be the restructured pieces. They'll get it like $4 million from Chubb, and they got to get 10 million from Deshaun.
I know. What about what do you think about, I know we were paying Amari a pretty heavy chunk. We bringing him back, you think?
So I think that's the question going into this offseason right there. I think it's a valid point because Amari is getting older. And the thing about Amari is, as great as he gets dinged up a lot. But his dinged up is different than everybody else's. Because when he gets nagging
Bro, yeah,
injuries.
he's not prone to them though. He's not
Yeah, he gets like
sloppy.
little nagging injuries that
Yeah.
he can play through, but he clearly ain't himself.
Yeah.
Whereas other people get injuries and they like, I'm out. I can't play, that type of thing. So that's the difference between him and everybody else. I think this offseason, you have to go and acquire another number 2 wide receiver that can be considered a number 1 option because I think this is Amari's last year on his deal this upcoming season. I think he's got an option or something.
Oh, he does?
Maybe.
I thought this was it. I thought it was only
I thought is this the first or second? Was it 2 years left on his deal or was it 3 when they got him? Maybe it was 2.
Oh, you know what? No, I think you're right. So, okay, in 2024, Cooper will earn a base salary of 20 million while
Yeah, he
carrying
about
a
to.
cap hit of 23,776,000 and a dead cap value of 11,328. So yeah, okay.
He getting
Minimum
restructured.
guaranteed at signing. It's 40 million. Yeah, so he'll get a restructure.
Yeah.
And
But you at this point, like I said, this whole thing, if we trying to figure out if this the $230 million man gonna be that, you got to get him some weapons. You thought you did it with Elijah Moore, but it just wasn't it.
what a deflation of Elijah Moore.
What? Who you telling? I was just as bad as you. I sat there and I stamped this man.
I don't next spring training, Jesus. Next training camp, Tyvis, don't let me fall in love. Okay? Be real with me and tell me no.
You know what I'm gonna tell
falling
you?
in love in July.
This is when the Browns start OTAs and they start posting all them practice highlights, I'm gonna respond to every last sort of with Allen Iverson. We talking about practice, like not to get practice.
Just remind everybody, including me.
I ain't going for none of that. So there.
What a different squad. I mean, you look at it from Greenbrier to the end of this year. It's like, wait, what? I mean, it's nuts. So
they on the right path. I just feel like they was a receiver off. I really do because Elijah Moore. If Elijah Moore was the guy who we saw in them in OTAs, and that translated to Sundays, then I think we'd be singing a totally different tune. And I think that's so bad they wanted to get him the ball and wanted to get him involved more, but it just wasn't working for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the same thing with him in the Jets. Like I feel like they wanted to get him the ball, but for some odd reason, it's not translating. And that's something that maybe the new OC can figure out. You know, maybe that's something that because I mean, he's obviously gonna be here. I just think he'd be better served as a 3. Like, think about it. If you got Amari Cooper, who's a free agent, this Calvin Ridley, and Elijah Moore is your 3 with David Njoku. That's a solid wide receiver core right there. You take that every day of the week. And I think he could thrive. They would be kind of like how the Cincinnati is. They got 3 really good wide receivers. I think Elijah Moore is a number 3 wide receiver. He's clearly be a mismatch all the time because when he's the practice player on Sundays, he's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and look, it's the off season is always like our Super Bowl, and it's nice that it's not necessarily our Super Bowl, but it is the importance level is up, but it's changed. It's a different type of importance, right? And it's a different focus, and we're not rebuilding, and we've been on a steady-ish path since 2020. Not any major drops, but certainly not anywhere near we wanted to be in. It was a nice surprise this year, and it gave everyone a little bit more hope. But yeah, we will look to see what other moves they make. This Cleveland Browns team
I mean, it was definitely
what was name me this is what I want to ask you.
Oh, shoot.
Give me one word to describe this Browns season.
Oh, it was magical. It was a magical season.
Oh.
I thought the way that I said this on the post game show as we wrapped up. It was the way they could make $1 out of 15 cents every Sunday was magical. And it's something that they had the right attitude. It's something about refusing to lose. There were so many excuses for them to lose a game, and they ignored them all. And that, like I said, that has to do with having the right coaches, right head coach first, then having some of the right coaching staff and having the right makeup of players in the locker room. There's so many. We could easily say, "Oh, we don't have our quarterback. We don't care if we win or lose." That wasn't the case. It didn't matter what obstacle you put in their way, they found a way to win, and that's a special breed right there. And to me, that's what made this season so fun to watch. It was like so many things that as an analyst, I'd be like, man, they can't there's no way that they could keep winning like this. And every Sunday they prove me wrong. They still do it. They keep doing it. So it defied all logic. And it was the most fun I had as a Browns fan. It was one of those seasons that I was proud of. I know it didn't end the way it's supposed to, or we wanted it to, but it was still fun to get there and watch and to the point where everybody was like, man, the Browns is dangerous. Mm-hmm. It was like national media finally paid attention to it. So to me, it was a magical season, and I think it was the start of something good to come.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. Mine, it felt, I would say for me, the word, I guess, is team. I just felt like they really felt and looked like a real team. I think we've just have dealt with so much what's what I'm looking for? Just an unequal, an unequilibrium. You know what I mean? Like there just never seemed no one was ever not everybody was always on the same page. It just, towards like, 10, like week 8, week 9, week 10 is when we'd start hearing, a bunch of shit out of Berea and problems and arguments and, just that was just like status quo, and it was the complete opposite when we started to get later into the season. So it just felt like such a team. And if they're bummed about Stump Mitchell being let go and everything, then honestly, I'm glad that they care, because that's where that passion needs to be there. And it just felt like, and when I think of team and I think of Dave Njoku, I think he just was my favorite part of this entire end of the season outside of Flacco.
JOK was, man, that man.
Also amazing. He was only one of the good
that way against Houston. Listen, the way he played in that Houston game,
I know.
My jaw was on the ground. That boy played the game like, and it's amazing just to see where he was last year to where he was this year. That man, it's like he knew. Like that's the guy that I know he watched film. Like that's what I'm talking about right there.
Yeah.
It's the best feeling in the world to be out there and be like, oh, they're about to do this and know off the snap where to go. Like it is unbelievable. And that's exactly what he looked like. That man, I wish it was a way for public record that I could see how much film he watched this year. That man must have been burning up.
You should just tweet him and ask him. I'm sure he'll tell you. I'm sure you would respond.
I ain't got the blue check no more. What's his who owns Twitter?
Elon Musk.
Yeah, Elon Musk took my check away. So
well, he must not be a Browns fan or an Orange fan.
He'll look at me like, who is this peasant?
No,
because I ain't paying the $5.
Yeah, hell no.
I'm not paying the $5. If you ever see me with a blue check, just know some company decided to pay it because I ain't paying the $5.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we were good, not great. We want to be good. We want to be great. We don't want to just be good. And so if these are all the right steps we hope to take, we're going to have a few missteps, obviously, but it's we're back to square one. It was a lot of fun doing this again with you, Tyvis, this season, and Taj.
He's become a Browns fan right before our eyes.
He has, but he'll be cheering for the 49ers, I bet, next weekend.
Oh, me too.
What? I got I'm cheering for the Packers.
They used to pay me, so I always cheer for teams that used to pay me. The Texans paid me for a week.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And the Browns did.
How many teams I got? Hold on.
And the Browns. Wait a minute. You want to? We're gonna almost hit the whole league here.
The Browns pay. The Browns currently are paying me. Yeah, that's my only dog in the fight. It's the 49ers and the Texans. That's it.
I would love to see the Lions win it all.
Yeah, that'd be nice for that city, but we'll see. They gotta beat Hot Baker right now. He's feeling dangerous.
Bake show.
He's feeling dangerous.
Feeling dangerous.
This is serious. We can make you delirious. You should have a healthy fear of us, because too much of us is dangerous. We're so dangerous.
You had my shoulders going. That might need to be part of our new open there, Taj, or stick that in there after Jim Donovan.
Put that Buster Bus in there.
Oh boy, my brother met Busta Rhymes on a plane last year, or boarding a plane, and he was wearing like this massive fur coat. My brother sent me this picture. But man, he aged. He got old. It is a sad state of affairs. Busta's looking busted. It was sad.
But he still can spit his flow. That's the thing.
I know. He did his what song is he on with Chris Brown? And he does that like crazy.
Look at me now.
He redid it.
Get away.
Yeah. He was on some radio station and did it live. Like it was nuts just this past year. So
yeah, he still got it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll be back. I don't know exactly when, but we will be back soon to talk about the latest set of moves from your Cleveland Browns. Thanks to everyone who listened to us this season. Anyone that came back, anyone that's new. We certainly had a lot of fun doing it, and let's hope that we're doing this even longer next year.
Oh, we will be. Once we get the right head, our offensive coordinator, we'll be back.
All right. You said it. Your lips.
Go Browns.
Go Browns.